Hi everyone, my name is Maya and my presentation today is about diabetes and heart disease in the South Asian community. And so what I did was a survey to assess people's awareness of risk factors for these illnesses. So why did I choose this particular topic? It actually all started with this book. It's called The South Asian Health Solution by Dr. Ronesh Sinha, and he works at PAMF right here in Los Altos. And my family member was reading this book, and I became curious about why diabetes and heart disease are more prevalent in the South Asian community. And so I read the book, and I used it as my primary resource for forming the survey. So what's the essence of this book? First of all, when the book refers to South Asians, it's talking about people from the Indian subcontinent. And there are some specific trends in South Asians that put them at a higher risk. So their diet's rich in carbohydrates, they have a genetic tendency for these diseases, and on top of that, studies have shown that they may also be less active than other groups. And then the cornerstone of the book had three parts: the knowledge of the risk factors, education, and prevention. And I focused on one small part for my survey, awareness, because if illnesses are prevented early on, if illnesses are caught early on, they can be stopped from becoming more serious. So a little bit of background information that I had to research before I could think about my survey. There were four main concepts that I learned that were really central themes in the survey: inflammation, insulin resistance, abdominal obesity, and the test HbA1c. So first of all, inflammation. When we get a cut, we think of inflammation because inflammation happens on the surface of our skin. But when blood vessels get damaged, inflammation happens in their inner lining, according to the NCBI. Now a bit about insulin resistance. Insulin is a hormone that makes sure that the glucose enters into our cells. But in insulin resistance, the insulin's still being produced by the body, but the cells aren't responding, and so the glucose doesn't get in, and so the glucose level in the blood rises. But one interesting fact is that even though glucose isn't going into most cells, it does go into fat cells. So body fat and triglycerides, which are a lipid that's stored in fat cells, go up, and all of this can lead to prediabetes. Abdominal obesity is an important risk factor because abdominal fat stores inflammatory chemicals. And HbA1c is kind of a really smart test because it measures someone's average blood glucose level over the past 2 to 3 months. And then if it goes above a certain number, then someone would be diagnosed as pre-diabetic. But all four of these are really important because they're all testable. Like for inflammation, there's a test called CRP, C-reactive protein, that can measure general body inflammation. And they're all testable and they're all measurable, and if someone's aware, they can get these tests done and find out if they're at risk or not. So this is a hard copy of my actual survey. Some people did it via SurveyMonkey, and some people I did face-to-face. It was a small sample size of about 21 people. There were 30 questions, and I started by asking about awareness of insulin resistance, triglycerides, some lifestyle choices, and I asked about waist circumference because it assesses the abdominal obesity I was talking about. So here's some examples of questions I asked about diet. When I asked people if they included fruits and vegetables in their diet, everybody said yes. But then when I asked if they got the recommended 2 fistfuls of vegetables and 1 fistful of fruit every day, because this is the recommended amount according to the South Asian Heart Center, and not everybody did. I asked about physical activity and exercise because I asked about the minimum recommended amount and the types that people got. I asked about stress on a scale of 1 to 10, and people's stress levels varied from 2 to 8. But stress causes heart disease because it increases hormones in the blood that can damage the inner lining. And now about sleep, the optimal amount for adults is 7 to 8 hours, but only 50% of my respondents actually got this much. And while they were aware that sleep is really important, that amount, they weren't as aware that this affected their diabetes and heart disease risk. But overall for the project, I found that people were pretty aware of common risk factors, like diet and exercise and sleep, but I found that they weren't as aware of certain tests like the HbA1c and the CRP. One of my regrets for the project is that I balanced my time a little bit unevenly between doing the background research and actually doing the survey, but if I had more time, I would collect more responses. But my biggest take-home message was that awareness is a really essential first step in preventing diseases. And even though my study focused on South Asians, the risk factors that I talked about apply to all ethnic groups, and they're important for everybody to be aware of. Thank you.